All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fine, wherever you are, it's a fine, beautiful morning here in Abuja. And I want to wish you a very good morning once again and also welcome you to today's class and lecture on supply chain activities. And I know most of us will be following, we've been having a very exciting class thus this far. And I just want to admonish us that. In this class, we're going to be wrapping up looking at some major activities within supply chain. We've seen supply chain, definition of supply chain on its own, what is supply chain, meaning of supply chain, components of supply chain, and went ahead to see in our second module, supply chain planning, all right, strategic planning, demand management, demand planning, and the rest. We'll discuss that inventory management and how you can actually plan to get a successful uh, supply chain activity. All right. Today we'll be looking at supply chain operations. All right. So this module we want to focus upon identifying and costing the different activities within a supply chain, and also discussing the type and role of performance indicators, and nature and the use of benchmarking within the supply chain. So we want to believe at the end of this course you should be able to know and identify to cost also the separate activities within the supply chain, and also for you to understand the role and type of performance indicators in the supply chain management. And also we hope by the end of this course you should be able to understand why an effective supply chain can operate as part of a marketing mix of an organization. So without wasting much of our time, let's look at supply chain activities. What are supply chain activities? Now, if you recall earlier on from what we were discussing, all right, that supply chain management is an area that has recently received a great deal of attention, and in today's business environment and market, uh, no business can be successful without the understanding of the issues, problems, and possibilities in managing competitive supply chain. So in competitive supply chain network, supply chain design decisions could involve, I mean, involves major capital investment, and also it has long-term effect on supply chain performance. So and these decisions that have effect on long-term supply chain performance should be balanced in such a way uh, to find a balance between efficiency and responsiveness on their supply chain operations. So, um, the drivers of supply chain operations are facilities that are strategically located within different areas within the supply chain. I want to talk about facilities. I'm talking about something like depot or warehouse, and also the middle. Other driver is also inventory level. All right, transportation and information flow. So the balance would recognize true cost and service trade-off between these key supply chain drivers. All right. So therefore, we'll talk about the successful execution of this decision should give a competitive cutting edge, all right, to any organization. All right. If an organization can find a way to plan its facilities very well, have a good inventory policy, select transportation, and also get good information management. So they should be able to actually get a good competitive advantage when it comes, all right, to finding good responsiveness and efficiency within their logistics. So let's look at one major important activity within the supply chain, which is actually the first stage, which is sourcing. All right, sourcing and supply chain operations. See, we've defined logistics earlier on as effective and efficient flow or movement uh, or flow of material resources. All right, from a point of origin to the point of consumption, and we define supply chain also in that format also. Now, you discover that we've discussed in our previous discussion. So before we engage to discuss of how procurement and logistics and supply chain work together, it's important to define the term procurement. What is procurement? All right. Procurement sometimes, in other words, would mean to buy or to purchase. So, as we briefly discussed formally from most of our discussion, we now realize that procurement is the process that undertaking is the process undertaken by organizational units which either as a function or as part of an integrated supply chain. All right. Procurement is responsible both for procuring supplies of the right quality, the right quantity, the right time and price, and the management of the supplier, thereby contributing to competitive advantage of the enterprise and the achievement of corporate strategy. All right, so that is procurement. So the relationship between procurement to supply chain management is a very uh, strong one, in the sense that without procurement, nothing will kickstart the chain. So procurement function now recognizes the need for a joint cooperation with other parties in the supply chain to achieve to achieve cost reduction or improvement, to achieve improved material delivery, to achieve shorter cycle time, all right, which including product development, all right, cycle time, and also access to product and process technology. All right, this is what procurement function recognizes. All right, so as to cooperate, the company cooperate with other party to ensure that supply chain achieve most of all this because it starts from there. If you don't get it right from the point of procurement, you get it wrong all throughout the supply chain. If the price is high when you're buying the goods or when you're procuring the goods, you discover that that carry-on effect, all right, that ripple effect will flow from that all through. If the quality of the material is wrong, it's poor, it's going to affect it all through. If the quantity is low, it's going to affect it all through. If the timing of delivery of that procurement activity is delayed, it's going to affect, all right, supply chain all throughout the chain. So when you look at procurement, if you look at integrate procurement with other parts of supply chain, it achieves all these benefits I just mentioned. All right, also even quality improvement. All right. So as we go forward, we remember that say, um, from a strategic point of view, all right, the procurement mission has been primary to support function to other supply chain and logistics operations. So purchasing must therefore be aware of the components and service needed by operations, all right, and by operations, all right, of the supply chain as a plan to assemble product or deliver a particular service. So because purchasing is responsible for sourcing the components to support an operation plan, purchasing managers must work with schedulers, all right, to coordinate delivery of materials to the product site. So the increasing importance of supply chain management is forcing organizations to rethink their purchasing and supply chain strategies. All right. So even despite the apparent complexity of managing supply chains, some organizations are thriving and exploiting their supply chains for competitive advantage. All right. So as companies strive to increase customer value by improving performance while simultaneously reducing costs, many companies are turning their attention to purchasing and distribution management. So that part of the supply chain is actually critical. It is critical because it's actually focused on that aspect of inbound logistics rather than looking at the outbound logistic aspect of it. So many people are tuning that aspect of it. So let's look at what is covered inside. How do we manage that? All right, because if we get it right at the inbound stage, we'll get it right all throughout the entire stages of what supply chain management. So what are the activities that takes place in procurement? Why is procurement important? All right. Now, in supply chain management, why we actually deal with that area of procurement and look at it critically, not just buying, is the fact that that aspect of that supply chain, which is procurement, deals with activities such as selecting the right suppliers to deliver the right product at the right time, at the right quality, at the right quantity, at the right place. All right. So for you to get um, that, procurement as you actually deal with that aspect of supplier selection. All right, and there are factors you must consider before you select your supplier. First and foremost, you want to you want to appraise your supplier appraisal. All right, it's a very key activity from a procurement perspective. It requires organization to actually vet, all right, the source or vet their supplier comprehensively and appraise them before they give contract or they award contract to them. All right, these steps actually make sure that it shows the organization is being proactive, all right, to procurement, and it entails following capabilities to assess the capacity of the supplier. Now you appraise the supplier. One of them you want to check out their historical records. All right, and in assessing the capability, you look at the historical record to ask the question: can the potential supplier you're looking at or the suppliers you're looking at provide and demonstrate evidence of good track records? All right, in supplying resources or goods as required for other clients over a period of time, let's say 10 years or 5 years. All right, so you want to look at until looking at you want to assess or appraise the supplier using their production capacity. And you ask the production capacity, you ask the question: does this potential supplier demonstrate capacity to meet our volume? All right, or do they have sufficient resources like equipment, stock to support production? All right, do they have that equipment, or are their system current, and what quality control techniques are in place? All right, you want to assess their production capacity. All right, another way to appraise your supplier, which is a proactive step, is to look at their financial capacity. All right, now the key financial performance, for example, like looking at their profit margin, liquidity rate, the liquidity of the organization. All right, you look at that to understand whether they have the financial capacity to actually fund the project. So you do not want to award a contract or enter a long-term relationship with any supplier that will go bankrupt in the next few months. All right, it's going to affect your business. So you are looking at also, organizational issues. What issues are they having in the ways of appraising them? Now, the organizational issues will deal with something like what is their structure, what is their culture, what are their ethics and skill level. All right, it's very important. All right, it's very important for organization to assess that. So, if a supplier cannot provide the right skill set for for your supply chain requirement, then they become a potential weak link in the chain. All right. So another thing again you can actually look at in assessing or appraising your supplier is look at your supplier supply chain network. All right. What's their supply chain network? It is important to establish the network that a supplier uses. All right. Some problem associated with supply chain performance sometimes has been tracked or traced back to maybe second or third tier supplier. All right. You want to know who is their supplier before you want to engage them, so that you understand that they are not too, weak down in the link for you to get your product, because the more they have further down the tier of supplier list, the more delay you get, the more higher price you get, or the lesser quantity you get. All right, these are the reasons you need to appraise that aspect of it, to know where they get their product from, who the person they get the product from gets their own product from. That is how you actually make an appraisal for. Then also again is what we call commercial. Commercial in the sense that you want to look at legal issues relating to partnering with a supplier. All right, let's say for example, you want to ask yourself what is the minimum or maximum order quantity that a supplier operates on, and what are their standard delivery lead time. All right, and other contractual terms like liquidated damages, return policy. All right, may be a key issue to assess your supplier. All right, so today business environment, or today environment and safety issues, we look at something like health and safety practices, and so it's so important that suppliers should be assessed for compliance with some of all these regulatory issues. All right, and also supplier appraisal should be noted as a very, very key value adding activity. All right, for procurement function. A procurement function form part of what supply chain management activity. Now, the next activity within the supply chain is transportation. Transportation that links the goods from from the inbound, from the sourcing aspect of it, to the warehouse where it will be transformed or sent to the last man, the consumer. Now, transportation, which actually involves the movement of goods and services, is important link within the overall supply chain operation. So, this aspect actually is equally essential in customer satisfaction, all right, and market offering. Now, many researchers have reported that some researchers have reported, I think it's in 1996, Gatona reported that transport has been a dominating activity in distribution, but has now been integrated into the whole supply chain activity. So, in modern supply chain, where efficiency are sought in all sectors of the industry, three qualities are expected from free transport lean supply system. One of the things that are expected for if one of the three things expected for free transportation of goods. All right. I want to talk about lean supply system is actually a system that actually reduces waste, cut waste. All right. One of the things qualities that are expected from a free transport system within the supply chain is one, availability. All right, transport, supply, and delivery must be available within a defined time frame. All right, as defined by not the supplier, not the producer, but by the customer. All right. The next one is reliability. The supply chain must operate at a defined level. All right, of dependability. So although these days, 100% reliability is an almost impossible aim, but the logistics supplier must have contingency plan to meet any expected disruption to the supply chain when it comes to transportation. Then the other thing we look at as the quality, all right, is availability. Is responsiveness. All right, we discussed reliability. We talked about availability. The next one is responsiveness. Now, responsiveness, the logistics supplier must be flexible, all right, and agile enough to respond to any change in the supply chain. So on the other hand, transportation represents one of the largest resources commitment as far as what supply chain activity are concerned. So it is therefore it therefore follows that there must be a continuous search for trade-off between the various activities of supply chain operations. All right. So and that will now take us to what we talk about modal choices. And modal choices, we talk about modal choices. Now, modal choices depends on other factors that can be identified when the real upper and perceived strength and weakness of the principal mode are what considered. All right. Now, say for example, I want to move a cargo from Lagos to Abuja, and I looked at a bad road condition, prevailing bad road condition in Nigeria, and I realized that the cargo I'm moving is light, it has no volume, and it's very expensive. Now I won't want to jeopardize, and okay, it's time related. All right, I want to jeopardize that cargo. Normally, the idea is go by road, but I have a choice. All right, to move that same cargo to Abuja instead of that cargo spending, let's say 12 hours or 15 hours or 16 hours on Nigerian roads. All right, why not fly it by air? I need to be in Abuja in the next 1 hour. All right, now that is a choice. Or instead, I have a very huge container to carry, maybe 10 containers to carry, and options available for me to carry from, let's say, Lagos to Kano or Kaduna is by using the road. Well, and for me to carry that 10 containers, which let's say 20 feet containers, require me to get a truck, a 20 feet trucks container, 10 or 20 of them to carry to Kaduna, which is more expensive. All right, and it will take more time because of the bad road conditions we have in Nigeria. So another choice available for me is to look at, okay, the road is weak in this area, let me use the rail. The rail has a passive strength in carrying all my 10 trucks container to arrive in Kaduna at once at the same time, all right, without any barrier. All right, so if you look at each of the modal choices that we have, each of the mode we have, from road, rail, maritime, inland waterways, and airways, each of them has what we call their own weaknesses. So there's an ideal situation for supply chain managers like us, all right, to find a way of balancing decisions between efficiency and responsiveness in supply chain operation. And in doing that, we will look at, it needs us as supply chain manager at that point in time we want to carry a cargo to look at what are the strengths of using this particular mode and what are the weaknesses of using this particular mode. And the truth be told is the fact that if you look at the road transport industry, the road transport in the same climate, one of the strengths of road transport service is that it provides door-to-door service. All right, another strength is that it is flexible. All right, and also another strength of the road transport is that it has high level of customer service. But it has its own weakness. The weakness is, like I said, due to bad roads, we have congestion, all right, environmental issues, limited weight and volume, like in carrying my cargoes to Kaduna, my 10 or 20 container, 20 feet trucks, all right, so it can't carry them in full length, all right. That is a weakness, but it actually provides door-to-door service. It's high level. It has high level of customer service. Now, if you look at the rail mode, all right, provides for strength is that it provides efficient for bulk products. All right, it's competitive over a long haul distance. It's energy efficient, and sometimes it's cheaper. All right, but the weakness is that it does not provide door-to-door service. It is inflexible. All right, there's always double handling because rail will not provide the last mile. All right, movement in the sense that when you drop at maybe at Idu train station, you need to move it down from Idu train station to Maraba. You still need to break down to offload the container and take it by road to that place. So that is what we talk about double handling, the weakness in the rail mode. And when we talk about the maritime, wow, it's efficient for bulk product across, distance. All right, and it's high volume and tonnages. So, but the biggest problem with maritime, like the ship, is like it's slow. Then there's double handling. By the time you stop at the port, the port, you need to actually ship it from the port via road or rail to inland or where it is needed. All right. Also, inland waterways we have like all the small waters, not the sea, but in the rivers we have. All right, has a strength of efficient energy. It's cheap, but the truth still remains: if you carry road through inland waterways via barges, it is slow and always subjected to what double handling. Then air, all right, is the fastest of all. It has speed as a strength, especially over a long distance. All right, it provides high security, but the problem with air is that it is very expensive. All right, it has limited weight and volume. Like the biggest, the biggest airplane, which is the Antonov plane, can carry, let's say, a 40-feet container truck. Can carry, let me just say, 10 of it or 15 of it at a go. 10 of it, yes, at a go. It can carry more than 10 of those container truck. Whereas a maritime, especially the mask container truck, can carry like 12,000, 15,000 containers at a go. So these are the difference between the different modes, and each of these transportation modes have their relative strength, all right, and weakness. All right, the actual strategic issues, all right, affecting transportation selection as a supply chain manager. What are the strategic issues? After saying their strength and the weakness, all right, you realize that there are key issues that are affecting selection of transport mode within the supply chain, and one of them is what the company characteristics, financial situation, and supply points on transport availability. In the sense that yes, you want this, but what is the character of the company, the nature of the company, who wants to carry, what's their financial situation? Do we have the money to go via air, or let's go via road? All right, and what are the supply points, the distribution point along the supply chain? There are issues that will actually affect transportation. The market structure, all right. We talk about the product location, all right, and distribution channels. We're actually issues to look at when you want to select transportation. There also is product characteristics. All right, this could relate to volume, value to weight, and ratio, perishability of the item, special handling, or dangerous goods and hazardous goods as it might go. They will actually have our customer characteristics. All right, it identifies the customer level in terms of accessibility to the goods that is being carried. All right, after sales service, if needs be. All right, and all those things that will go where customer characteristics will say, well, can, whether you want to use it or not. If the customer is willing to pay for air or pay by road or pay by any means, we want to use. Then also other issues that might be affecting is also environmental issues, legal restrictions, and sometimes cost of movement. Then the BDI to move maybe very dangerous goods over a long bridge like that. So these are strategic issues affecting transportation selection. All right. Now you have key decisions that would be influenced by transport. Now in your organization, no matter what, your key, transportation will influence things like customer service level, your market coverage, your sourcing decisions, your process manufacturing, and also pricing. So transportation decisions are important for supply chain as they impact on customer service and other related costs like position, like where to put your warehouse or your depot cost, and whatever, and other costs or facility costs that might be that might be incurred by the organization. All right, so transportation will actually play a cost on that. All right, now another very important component of activity within the supply chain is warehousing, or now better referred to as what we call distribution centers. So it comes in different shapes and sizes. Now, these centers have since transformed their role from traditional storage role to as much as more commercial role for effective movement of goods to end users. So warehouses, stores, and distribution centers are integral components, all right, elements of supply chain, where decisions within these elements um, have a wide effect on what service and cost level. No matter you look at it, warehouse have a strong effect on service and cost level within the supply chain operation. So as a supply chain strategic planner, all right, within the supply chain, you actually need to put into consideration if you want to set up the warehouse. There are some issues you need to look at, strategic issues you need to look at when you want to run or you want to set up a warehouse within the supply chain. Now, one of them is location. All right. Now, location will now deal with how accessible are your warehouses, all right, to your operation is important. All right. Another issue you want to look at again is the market and product-based stability, in the sense that the market expectation and product trend will influence decisions on the size and location of your facilities, in the sense which market you're operating, the product you're operating, will not decide how large the warehouse will be, or how small it will be, or how many warehouses you want to create in that area. So this in turn will now influence the level of technology, all right, that a warehouse facility and operation will require. So the level of technology will have an impact on throughput, like mechanical to automated uh, warehouse. So, but the choice we'll consider, we still goes back to the pocket of whoever wants to do it, whether they have the money to run it. Like you look at the Alibaba warehouse in China, that 70% of the operational activities is run by what? Robotics. Robots run the activity within that warehouse. So another thing you look at, strategic decision to look at, is what characteristics of goods to be handled. What are the characteristics of goods to be handled, like e.g. like characteristics like size, weight, all right, the product life cycle, and the beneficial value of the product. And these uh, would affect areas like handling and storage requirements within the warehouse. So also, one factor is also you look at again when setting up a warehouse is design layout. All right, a good warehouse should be designed to flow. I mean, to designed for the easy flow of goods and service as within the warehouse. All right, and when you talk about design and layout, it entails that the layout and design must be carefully considered with adequate supporting storage and material handling system. So some common design layout is as simple as what we call the flow through. All right, the straight flow through means what flow from A to B, the straight flow. When you're talking about the trailer coming in from this end, all right, offloading and exiting from this end. All right, then you have the U flow, in the sense the trailer comes in like this, goes like this, and goes out like this. One makes a right turn, then another right turn outside the warehouse. All right, and what we call it cross-docking design. A cross-docking design is designed for a warehouse where necessarily goods are not necessarily stored into the warehouse, but rather it is stored. The vehicle, I mean, the goods comes into the warehouse to be stationed not inside. I mean the warehouse for the purpose of immediate what movement to another point without necessarily being stored in that warehouse. So that could be a design that one can actually put within the warehouse. All right. So the design layout is dependent on several factors, all right, including the type of supply chain operations you want to do. All right. So not totally that. Okay. Lastly, again, another factor again we look at in warehouse is also inventory and inventory stock location, which is actually a key decision that has to be made in terms of inventory to be kept and what quantities you want to hold at a given time and location, with choices depending on the service, all right, need and expectation of the customer. All right. Now, having said that, those are the entire uh, factors that will affect location of what a warehouse. All right, factors that will affect location of the warehouse, and it's actually a key um, warehouse activity, and warehouse activity actually form the supply chain activity. Now, another important activity within the supply chain, all right, is cost. Cost. All right, it is generally accepted by every researcher known that warehousing costs represent between 30 to 40%. all right, of the total distribution cost, and this is is a large proportion of expenditure. Now this and the costs vary from location to location, but the main cost areas are labor cost, rental cost, building maintenance and service cost, then equipment cost. Now, in many warehouse operation with pick and pack activity, the cost of labor employed can represent up to 50% of the total warehouse operating cost. All right. So you look. So cost is actually a major factor you look at. So especially in the area of what warehousing and also area of what transportation. Now let's look at a very key subtopic um, in uh, in this course. And this course look at approaches, different activity approach within uh, the supply chain management. And one key approach, all right, in the activity of supply chain management is logistics. All right, logistic approach. Now, earlier on in our previous videos, you would have noted that organization tends to function within layers and functional silos that create some barriers and boundaries likely to affect customer service. Now, we're talking about layers. We're talking about the structure. All right, from strategic management, video management to operational management. So the priority of the supply chain management is putting the customer at the center of what the supply chain or the chain activities. All right, this entails designing all activities, all right, across the organization and their supply chain with the overall objective of speedy delivery of product and service to the customer. So, logistic approach and vision are vital as they are actually vital for uh, the smooth flowing or to achieve a smooth flowing pipeline, all right, within the supply chain, all right. And a common logistic approach can be vital because it ensures, all right, and entrench a smooth flowing pipeline requires an orientation that facilitates end-to-end process management. So characteristics of a logistic approach would be organizing operation around the process and not the task. All right. So it is about organizing um, all your operations around processes and not task. So a flat layer structure building upon multifunctional team working and a performance measurement based on market expectation, all right, is what you want to look at. All right, everything, it's not a tough structure but actually a flat structure in order to meet your customer satisfaction. And you, instead of working on a very tough structure, you want to work on a multifunctional team, all right, that is set up to meet customer expectation. And also you find a way to control your performance and control your decisions and control your strategy by ensuring a good performance measurement, or based on what your customer is expecting and based on what the market is expecting from you. So it's all about everything. Impute your focus, your budget process, and everything towards satisfying one person, and that one person is what? Your customer. All right. So within the supply chain, logistics can be a vehicle, all right, for change in the following ways. One, integration of information system. Two, supply base is rationalized. Three, early supplier involvement. Then I think four, centralization of inventory. And that is how logistics can be a vehicle for change within the supply chain. And with what we've mentioned, uh, you realize that all these, like integration of information, supply base, and centralized can be done without the need for structural change within your supply chain. All right. So let's quickly look at costing supply chain activities. How do we cost the activities within supply chain? Transportation, uh, warehousing, procurement. All these things involves money. All right, and they are very expensive activities. All right, even information management. So, INC in 2004 states that every organization forms part of a larger value stream that links supplier, all right, with production and customers on consumers. Or I mean, the link suppliers with production and customers or consumers are all linked together. So, as a manager, it becomes important to understand that your costs will become value creators to your customers or consumers of your products and service. So it is therefore important to control and contain some of your operation costs through appropriate management techniques. Equally important is for partners in the supply chain, all right, to implement some cost control techniques that will ensure at least, all right, ensure at least a very cheap, all right, cost supply chain. And what about supply chain costs? You're looking at area of business process costs, all right, your procurement costs, your production costs, your distribution costs, your inventory carrying costs. All these are where you can have possible savings within your supply chain. All right, so supply chain costs accrue from time or activity undertaken during the pipeline flow of product. And these costs can be grouped into either time-based, which is fixed cost, or activity-based, which is a variable cost. So as a manager, you need to understand your cost, all right, within the above classification to be able to appropriate cost control techniques, all right, within your supply chain. So finance managers or regards time-related costs uh, as sorry, financial managers or financial accounting will regard time-related costs as as overhead costs and also referred to as fixed costs. So, e.g., the cost of storing and holding inventory requiring space to be rented or acquired over a given period of time. All right, so fixed costs do not vary according to changes in volume or production. So it varies according to time. All right, so you must learn to actually know how to control your cost.